Shelton on the three-point line. 2 seconds. One gets off the shot, and it's good. Oh, my. And I guess that tells you all you need to know about this first quarter.
Brooks comes up with it, gets it to Myers down the court, and he's got a wide-open dunk, and he throws it down. Myers with a right-hand jam makes it 24-10. Horn gives it off to Holzhauer, fires it out front, Cowley for the three. Good, and a foul to go with it. How about that?
And good morning. Welcome in to another edition of the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Great to finally be back with you guys. I'm Rock Onushi, back from my long hiatus on the show. This face you're a little more familiar with over here. It's Rob Polinsky. He had the call last night for what was a good one over at the Coliseum EC. Unfortunately for the Panther faithful, falling to the Padua Bruins. We'll actually catch up with Brian Ansbury, head honcho of the Padua Bruins, in the 10 o'clock hour. But before we go any further, do want to thank our sponsors that make this morning's program possible, and really a lot of our programming all season long. A big thanks to these guys for joining us this season. Nick Abraham Buick GMC and Nick Abraham Elyria Ford, Route 57 and East Broad Street in Elyria. Make sure you go see those guys. They got auto show deals out the door, literally, so make sure you go check them out. Lorain County Community College, real education for good jobs. LMRE, that's the Lorain Medina Rural Electric Cooperative, your Touchstone Energy partner, and of course our friends over at Eco Tree Services, your complete tree care company. Rob, loaded show today. Our first guest, he's already in the holster. We'll get to him here in a couple of short minutes. That's Chris D'Alicio, head coach of the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs. And a lot of times when we talk Olmsted Falls Bulldog basketball here on WEOL, and we were kind of joking about this off air a little bit, Jordan Eaton and the girls usually dominate a lot of that conversation just because of how consistent they've been, right? And that's no disrespect or slight to Chris D'Alicio and what his boys have been able to do in recent history, because they're pretty darn consistent as well. But they get a share of that SWC championship this season. They'll share it with Berea Mid-Park, so that is super exciting for Coach D'Alicio, and we'll talk to him about that here shortly. We'll have a new head football coach in the area this season, Bobby Stout at Brookside. We'll get to talk with him a little bit here this morning at about 9:25. He'll be joining us. Plenty of other coaches will join us as well, recapping some boys basketball. We'll preview some girls tournament basketball. We get our first tournament game this afternoon. Rob, myself, Jared Kozar, Gary Pelter will head to Vermilion as the Lady Sailors welcome in Millbury Lake, and really just kind of hard to beat this time of year, Rob, when you get such good basketball. And again, you had some great basketball last night at EC.
Yeah, we really did, and it's great because, you know, the regular season comes to an end. The girls' tournaments, they started a little bit earlier this week. Our coverage gets started today. Said it last night, you know, on the air, whether it's, you know, on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube page or on WEOL.com. You've heard me say this for years. Nobody, and I mean nobody, covers the tournaments like WEOL, and our coverage starts today to make that point with you guys with Millbury Lake and in Vermilion. It was great that last night during some breaks we were able to put up what our schedule looks like. That was cool, you know, to put that up, the graphic, and of course we'll have games, you know, coming up all week. But why don't we get it started like we always do? People tune in to get those scores. So here we are from Friday night. These are boys basketball games in the area last night. It was the Vermilion Sailors over the Huron Tigers, 56-41. We'll hear from Kurt Habermill later on this hour. Cleveland Heights defeated Lorain by a score of 73-54. The Titans, they conclude a pretty tough regular season campaign. It was the Elyria Pioneers over the Avon Eagles, 74-68. Elyria defeats Avon twice this year. We'll have Brett Larrick on at 10:40. The aforementioned Chris D'Alicio and his Olmsted Falls Bulldogs, he's on at 9:10. Why? They won the conference by defeating North of Israel last night, 56-50. At 10:20, we'll hear from Brian Ansbury. Padua Bruins, tough game last night. Neither team could shoot the ball very well. Great defense on both ends. Good intensity in this one. The Bruins defeat EC for the second time last night, 54-50. They spoil senior night at the Coliseum. The Fairview Warriors, a non-conference win over the Brookside Cardinals, 86-61. Boy, Jim Baker's had a great week. They've won the last few games, and a big win at Northwestern, 71-40. At 10:10, we'll hear from Josh Scharf of the Columbia Raiders. They defeat Independent 65-56. And Jim Brabenik and his Midview Middies get a win last night at Brookside. They will have Jim Brabenik on at 10:30. They defeat the Falcons in non-conference basketball, 58-53. The Cleveland Cavaliers win their 7th consecutive game. James Harden, they're undefeated since the trade for the beard. I mean, I've had a beard for years and years. No one ever said anything about that, but I guess he's the beard where I thought, mine wasn't bad. Yours isn't bad, but
it could use work.
Well,
could use work.
We all could.
Right,
and,
right.
And the Cavs defeat the Hornets last night, 118-113. Huge game for them tomorrow afternoon at OKC.
Yes, definitely so. And I'll tell you what, Rob, if I can get in touch with the marketing folks up there at Rocket Mortgage Arena, we'll see if we can get a Rob Polinsky beard giveaway night to match what Harden's
I'm just
been
saying
doing.
It's not bad. I know it's not hard.
No, it's a healthy looking beard. I mean, I won't discredit credit where credit is due.
It's grayer from when you first met me.
Potentially true. Your words, not mine. Your words, not mine.
I've earned it.
I'm sure Harden's putting a little something in that
he
beard.
might
right?
be.
He's putting a little something in the basket.
Yes,
that trade has looked really darn good for them. As much as we all love Darius Garland and what he was able to do in his time here, that trade's certainly looking like it's paying off for the Wine and Golders right now. So their scores from last night. Tell you what's coming up today. Again, we'll start with this our game on WEOL.com and on that Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel. Myself, Jared Kozar, Gary Pelter, will make our way out to Vermilion shortly after the wrap-up show here this morning. 2:00 tip as the Lady Sailors and head coach Doug Mahalik welcome in Millbury Lake, the Flyers, in a 5-6 matchup in that region. So that should be a really interesting matchup again today. 2:00. We'll get pregame started at about 1:30, actually. Did manage to get interviews with both head coaches. So, again, 1:30 we'll take pregame today with a about 2:00 tip, Millbury Lake at Vermilion girls tournament basketball. Other girls tournament action today, or this afternoon, I should say. Midview will go to Canfield. It'll be Clearview at Norwayne. Brookside visits Beechwood. Canton South will be at Keystone. As I mentioned, Millbury Lake will be at Vermilion. And then Open Door visits David Anderson. So a lot of different start times there. You got some noons, you got some 1:00s, you got some 2s, you got some 4s, you got a 7 in there as well with Keystone kind of the nightcap. So certainly looking forward to seeing how tournament action plays out today. That'll kind of impact how we look at our schedule next week, Rob, as you alluded to. You guys showed that graphic a couple of times last night, previewing what next week's slate of tournament action might hold for us. We know for sure Wednesday we will be at Lakewood as Avon visits Lakewood. That's a rematch from a regular season game that went the way of the Rangers, so the Lady Eagles will be looking for some payback this time around. Adam Costrella, the head coach of the Avon Ladies, will join us at 9:40 to talk about that one a little bit. Tuesday, up in the air a little bit, depending, I think, a little bit on what happens today. We know next Friday we'll be at Elyria Catholic once again for a boys matchup. And then Saturday, we may not know until maybe Wednesday night, Thursday morning, what exactly the plan is for next Saturday. So again, there are the scores from last night, and there's kind of a look ahead to what's coming up this afternoon. Again, our game, once again, on WEOL.com and on that Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel. Millbury Lake visits Vermilion. Myself, Jared Kozar, Gary Pelter will have the call for you on that one. Well, Chris D'Alessio, head coach of the Bulldogs, has been waiting patiently. So I'll tell you what, Chris, if you can give us 1 minute quickly for a quick sponsor thank you, we'll pay some bills, and then we'll get right to you, talk about your season and a share of that SWC crown. Chris D'Alessio, head coach of the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs, joins us after this timeout. It's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. You're listening and watching on WEOL.com and on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel. We'll be back.
Nick Abraham Elyria Ford is proud to once again be a part of the Cleveland Auto Show, running February 20th through March 1st at the IX Center. Check out the latest models, explore new technology, and find the perfect ride that suits your lifestyle. Love what you see at the show? Head over to Nick Abraham Elyria Ford for special deals you don't want to miss. From the show floor to the showroom, your next ride awaits at Nick Abraham Elyria Ford at the corner of Route 57 and East Broad Street in Elyria. Lorraine Medina Rural Electric offers a quick and easy way to pay bills online, monitor your daily electric use, and receive updates from your cooperative through SmartHub. Members can sign up for this service at www.lmre.org or contact the LMRE office at 440-647-2133 for more information.
And we're back on the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Rocco Nushi, Rob Polinsky here with you this morning, and let's get it started with our gauntlet of head coaches and put them on screen. He is Chris D'Alicio, head coach of the SWC champion Olmsted Falls Bulldogs. They knock off North Ridgeville last night, 56-50, the final score there, and they get a share of that SWC crown, and they'll share it with Berea Midpark. I'm sure, Coach, you didn't want to share that SWC crown, but if you had to pick, right, either a share or nothing at all, I'm sure you'll at least take the share. So first and foremost, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us, and just walk us through the feelings after last night, getting a share of that SWC championship with you and your guys.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Appreciate you having me on. And, obviously super proud of the kids, super happy. And, for sure, getting a share, it's great to say, you wish you would have got it outright. But, I think that when you look at this season and, just going into the season, and we talked about it on, with you guys or all the SWC coaches, we just know like what a grind it is to go through our conference on a nightly basis. And, going all the way back to the beginning of the conference, and you kind of look forward and you go, boy, it's just, here we go, with all these teams and challenging games, to go through that 14-game grind and to, come out as one of the two teams on top. Really proud of our guys and, the work they did all year.
Coach, I don't think at least really got to see you guys this year. Maybe I caught one or two of your games here on WEO. I know you guys were on back at the DeFranco, but for me, I think you guys really caught my attention. I go back to last postseason, and don't hate me for bringing this up, but I think about that loss that you guys had against Archbishop Hoban, where you take on Big Bad Sam Greer. You guys took them to double or triple overtime, whatever it was. A really great effort and performance from your guys. And I just think back to that with, I know you had some seniors on that team, but there were a lot of young contributors on that team as well. And I know each season's new with new players and the turnover and what have you, but really that game stood out to me in terms of thinking, wow, okay, this is a really dangerous group of young men moving forward. And then here we are just under a year later at the end of the regular season where you guys are again sharing that SWC championship. Did you kind of feel that heading into this season, knowing that last season you guys had that nice postseason run and really had some pieces to work again with to start this year?
Yeah, I mean, we knew we had, a solid core group of guys coming back that were in that game and experienced the big moments, in the postseason last year. And then obviously you're just unsure how your other guys are going to come along and be the supplements to those guys. And, to those other guys' credit, like I said, we knew about what we'd get out of 4 guys or so. And then those other guys were kind of filling in new roles, and those guys have just done a tremendous job of filling those roles on a nightly basis. And, because you can't win with just a few players, you need a whole team, and our other guys, some of our unsung heroes, have really made our basketball team what it is as well.
Chris, let's go back to last night. You get a win over at North Ridgeville, 56-50. Kind of take us through last night. You score 56 on the road. A lot of times that's not enough, but you hold a team to 50. Talk about your defensive effort and how it went last night.
Well, the first half, we were just out of sorts, and credit North Ridgeville for causing that to happen. That wasn't just us. That was North Ridgeville doing a great job last night. Those guys came ready to play. Ben had those guys ready. In the second half, I thought our guys did a great job on the defensive end. We really toughened up, played a lot smarter. So, yeah, they got a lot of firepower. So, our guys are really bought in on the defensive end. And, you have to, if you're going to go through 14 games in our conference, you got to be willing to play D. And our guys did, they did the job again last night. And that's really what allowed us to come out on top.
Now that you've gone through those 14 SWC games, I think we all thought at the beginning of the year, wow, this could really be a fun seat. Well, fun for us, not if you're coaching it, I'm sure, night to night. But having gone through it, was it tougher than you thought it would be? Was it basically, what you thought it would be? What was it like now you look back, on it?
Yeah, I think I thought it was going to be tough, and then it was tougher even than I thought, right?
Okay.
When you're in it and you're in the middle of those games and you're seeing teams, in person, and really just, I was really impressed with so many of the teams in our conference, and the coaches, obviously, I have such high respect for, but nightly it was, I don't care what you're talking about, top to bottom, it was a grind every night.
Again, Chris D'Alicio joining us, Olmsted Falls boys basketball coach. They get a share of the SWC crown with a win last night, 56-50 over North Ridgeville. Again, coach, as I mentioned at the start of the show, maybe you were tuned in yet, maybe not. I haven't been on this show quite as much this season, doing some coaching in my own right over at Independence with their girls program. So I'm sure we've talked to you about some of your individuals a lot throughout the season. Obviously, Mason Saravac, I'm sure, dominates a lot of that conversation. But you mentioned some of the unsung heroes or some of the names that really stepped up that maybe some from the outside looking in didn't expect to really step up. Walk us through some of those individuals for you this season, if you could, coach. Who were some of those guys that really maybe took a step forward that was, I don't want to say unexpected, but maybe much needed in order to have the kind of season that you guys did?
Yeah, I think coming into the year, I think everybody knew about Mason and Cole Oden and Logan Conley. Those guys were just returning guys for us that played such a huge role. But then a guy like Chris Ten, who was an off the bench guy last year, just really has had a fantastic season and stepped up his game. And then Keegan Smith, a sophomore for us, our fifth starter, is just our dirty work guy. And even last night, he knocked down free throws down the stretch to kind of put the game out of reach. Big rebounds, dirty work, the things that you need. And then, the guys that we have that come off the bench, they play sporadic minutes, but they're awesome kids. Grant Rabnicki, great minutes for us last night. Connor Lehman, Angelo Longo, two seniors who come in and scrap and do just the small things that you need to do on a nightly basis, if you're going to win. So, those guys do so many little things in a game that maybe the average fan doesn't notice, but as a coach, you just know how valuable they are. You need those small moments out of those guys.
Coach, does that speak to your program when you have seniors that are willing to come up off the bench and do the dirty work, in your words, to do those kinds of things? And isn't that basically, don't you have to have that if you're going to have a season where you're cutting down nets and sharing titles or winning outright titles?
Yeah, you have to have it for sure. But I think it speaks more to those kids than it does our program. I mean, those are just great individual young men who, they do a lot right in all aspects of life. They're great in the classroom. They're just great kids and leaders. So, I think it's just such a credit to them that they're willing to be such important parts of our team. That's a different role than, maybe most kids have.
Well, Coach, we know tomorrow for you guys, the tournament draw, right? Which would be at what time does that start for you guys tomorrow?
2 p.m.
2 p.m. Okay, so sometime later in that afternoon, early evening, you guys will know where you're going and kind of the path ahead. And again, I go back to last year. I look at that tournament trail for you guys, and there were some pretty darn good basketball teams that you guys had to take on. You took on both of the big bad Catholic schools down there in that Akron area, right, with St. Vincent, St. Mary. You got the best of them. It just came up short against Archbishop Hoban. So kind of similar expectations, I would assume, for you guys this year, right? I'm guessing you're going to get a pretty darn good seed, a decent seed, but going to be some tough teams ahead no matter where you go, I would assume, on that bracket.
Yeah, for sure. Looks like we're slotted in at the 9 seed. There's 7 brackets. So, but even the teams behind us are, as you look, there's 33 teams, but even as you get down into the 20s, there's still a lot of teams that I know have had really good, solid seasons. And, there looks like there's just not going to be a lot of easy games, right? I mean, I think you're going to be challenged right away in the first round, So yeah, I think you could go any which number of ways. I think you're going to have to come to play every night, and you hope you can get a couple wins and keep moving on and just kind of see what happens. But I feel like it's going to kind of be like our conference. It's just going to be a grind. For however many tournament games you're able to play.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, Chris, if you don't mind, I was just kind of wondering, not trying to give away your game plan for tomorrow or anything like that, but do you sort of map out and kind of guesstimate what teams in front of you might do? And do you have philosophy like, hey, we really want a home game if possible, or maybe, and then look, I didn't look at your district, so I don't know, is your philosophy, if I win a game or two, I don't want to take a 2-hour ride to wherever, how much does all those things come into play with how you're going to try to place yourself on the bracket tomorrow?
I think you got to just put yourself in position with where your team has the best chance to win a district championship, if that's something you think your team is capable of. With that said, I think there's also some, you're trying to maybe think about what a team would do behind you, but ultimately, I mean, it's such a complicated, there's so many options that, you drive yourself crazy, maybe thinking about what might happen, and then it could not happen at all. And you see, over the years, just really different things and a lot of scenarios play out. So, it is odd to me that, not to get too much into the OHSA format, but it's odd to me that the higher seeds, they go on the bracket and then that's it. The control's gone from you, so I'm not sure what the purpose of being a higher seed is if except for the placement. I mean, I get that you can choose a bye and you get a home game. I get all that, but you're at the mercy of the teams behind you, and so you can't really do much about it. So, but it doesn't look like they're changing the format anytime soon. So we just have to roll with what we got. So yeah, we're trying to figure it out and develop a plan. But, in the moment, I forget what they give you, maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes to decide. And that's about how much time you have to make that choice.
Well, Coach, I certainly don't think you're alone in that sentiment based on what I hear from a lot of our other guys and girls in the area. So feel secure with that take, certainly. Last one here for you, Coach, before I let you go. Just again, one more tournament thing. You mentioned just how tough it is within, your guys' district, within your region. How difficult does that make it to prepare? Or is it maybe the opposite effect where you don't think too much about the teams behind you? Like you said, there's not a huge drop off between teams that fall in behind you. So that's just so many different schools and teams that you got to try to get film on or look at or what have you. Or is it one of those where, not that you ignore them completely, but it's like, hey, no matter who it is, 15 through 20 or whatever, it's going to be tough. How difficult, or maybe not as difficult, does that make it?
Yeah, I think going into it, you have to maybe take a look at some film of the teams above you where that you're going to have to, like for us being 9, I mean, I would assume that we're going to have to jump into a bracket with one of those top 7, 8 seeds, somewhere. So you're trying to maybe get a feel for that, but they're all good, right? I mean, I've looked at all 8 of the teams above us. I mean, they're all good. I don't want to play any of them, and then the teams behind us, like we said, you're kind of at the mercy of it. And at that point, once somebody decides to play you, then I think it just kind of goes back to your normal prep for, like we've been doing all year for the conference, and just like film and scout and try to get your team prepared, and then show up that night and see what happens.
There you go. Well, Coach, thank you very much for joining us here this morning. Congratulations on the win last night and getting a share of that SWC championship. And, oh, by the way, me and Rob were trying to talk about this. Shame on us because we didn't have enough time to do our due diligence on this. First crown in the conference for you guys since when?
22.
22. All right. Very good. Very good. Well, shame on me because I was at WEOL by that time, so I should have known. But thank you for the reminder on that, Coach. But congratulations again on once again getting a part of that SWC championship. Good luck with the tournament draw tomorrow. Excited to see where you guys end up, and I'm sure we'll be catching up again here soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You got it. That's Chris D'Alicio, head coach of the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs, kind enough to share some time with us here this morning. And, Rob, again, having done some coaching now in the past 2 years at the high school level, I know what that tournament draw is all about. And you think, 3 minutes, that's a plenty. It's not as much time as you would think, or as much as you would like to have. That is an interesting process that he'll be going through tomorrow.
Well, especially now that it's the super district. I mean, it's one thing if, like, where you guys are today with Vermilion in the Northwest District. Okay, you said it's a 5 versus 6 matchup, which it is, but they have one bracket. Okay, they go to one place, and they know the 10 or 12 teams that are in that bracket, and that's what it is. But it's, now what you see, he just said there are 7 different places he could go to make that decision in 3 minutes. And, you literally are seeing where those 8 teams place themselves in front of you. You got to get at one of them, and then maybe you try to guess what people might do behind you. Like he said, you could drive yourself nuts trying to do it, but good for him. Chris said that there's a lot of teams he doesn't want to play. We didn't get a minute to ask him this, or even tell him. I was going to say, Chris, I'm sure there are several teams that don't want to play you.
Yeah, no, and you wouldn't be wrong. Again, Mason Saravac, I'm sure you guys have talked about that young man a couple of times here on this show, so we didn't go too in depth about him, but he had a 20-plus point effort again for the Bulldogs last night, and he is a heck of a player. Again, I think about the effort that he gave Sam Greer, who was a Division I Power 4 offensive line prospect at the college football level for Oban last year, and Mason gave him everything he could handle, and then some, battling in the low post. So I'm excited to see what the Bulldogs can do on their tournament trail once again this season. So big thanks again to Chris Delisio for Olmsted Falls, and congratulations to him and his guys for getting a share of that SWC crown. Again, Berea Mid-Park will take the other half of that trophy. So let's step aside, take another timeout. When we return, talk some football here in the month of February, huh? Bobby Stout, new head coach of the Brookside Football Cardinals, is slated to join us here in about a minute or so. We'll step aside, take a quick timeout. When we return, hopefully Coach Stout will be able to join us again. New head coach of the Brookside Cardinals. There he is now. So if he can give us 30 seconds, we'll be right back. Again, he'll join us after this timeout. It's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show here on WEOL.com and on that Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel.
It's the biggest show of the year, the Cleveland Auto Show, running February 20th through March 1st at the IX Center. Nick Abraham Buick GMC is once again proud to be a part of the event, so you can see their latest lineup packed with style, performance, and innovation. Take the drive to their Elyria showroom, where special auto show deals are waiting for you. From the auto show to your driveway, get your next vehicle at Nick Abraham Buick GMC, Route 57 and East Broad Street in Elyria.
Lorain County Community College is where you'll lock in your future success. LCCC will get you prepared, get you credentialed, and get you working. Lorain County Community College. Your goals, your career, your future. Enroll today.
Welcome back. It is the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Rakanushi, Rob Polinsky here with you. Big thanks to Chris Delisio, Olmsted Falls head boys basketball coach, who just joined us. Congrats once again to his guys on a share of that SWC championship. Well, let's welcome in a new face here now to the Lorain County area. Bobby Stout, head coach of the Brookside Football Cardinals. Coach, thank you very much for joining us here this morning. Congratulations on landing the gig over there at Brookside. And let me start with this, because Rob asked me before the show, and I just assumed, and I haven't talked with you in person, that I get the last name pronunciation there correct. It is Stout, right?
That's correct. Yes.
All right. Good deal. Good deal. Well, Coach, again, welcome into Lorain County. We're certainly excited to have you as the Brookside head football coach now. So I'm sure we'll be bothering you throughout the coming months over the summer once we get into pigskin season in the later stages of August. But talk to us about you a little bit if we could. And I know you're out of town. You're kind of on a strict schedule, so we won't keep you forever. But, reading the article in the Chronicle Telegram on you, kind of the welcome article for you. Talk to us a little bit, if you could, just share what you can on your background and sort of how this all came to be with you landing the gig at Brookside.
Yeah, so grew up in Greene, went to Greene, played football, basketball, baseball there, then had the opportunity to coach there for a while. Obviously had a lot of success in multiple sports there. Was lucky to be around some really good head coaches. I always wanted to be a head football coach. I actually, at one point, just because of the timing of things, ended up being a head basketball coach, took that opportunity. And then quickly got back into coaching football. So I was at Massillon Jackson for a year, and then I was at Southeast last year. So I've been fortunate enough to be at some different places, which I think has helped me in terms of being at some big schools that have had a lot of success on a maybe bigger stage, but then also some small schools and being able to go through building a program at a small school as well. So just kind of all those experiences and all the head coaches that I've been fortunate to work for. Like I've said before, I think I've been able to take a lot of different things from all the head coaches I've worked for. They were really all different in some form or fashion, and they all had some different strengths. So just to be able to be around a number of head coaches, I think has helped me to get to the point that I am at now.
Well, we certainly know a couple of coaches who make that transition from the basketball floor to the football field. Brian Morgan over at North Ridgeville. Rob, he certainly comes to mind. He was the Rangers basketball coach for a number of years. Now he does the football thing as well. Coach, let me ask you this: what's sort of the dynamic with that, or maybe what goes through the mind in terms of the decision making process when you are coaching hoops and then football kind of opens itself back up to you? What made you want to make that jump back to the football field?
Yeah, like I said, I mean. Originally, I think football was probably the one that I foresaw from early on, even like my playing days. That was the sport that I envisioned coaching, and those other ones just kind of happened as as I kind of started coaching football and stuff. But yeah, there's obviously a lot of similarities and differences. I think the good thing about it is, in terms of having the head coach experience, even though it isn't necessarily in football, is especially in a major sport, the process of building a program and going through the how do we define our culture and kind of build that. Those things stay consistent throughout different sports. So I think that has kind of helped me as well.
Oh, you kind of stole my question. I was going to ask, how coaching basketball would help you. So let me check that one off. Go to the next one. Coach, what was it about this Brookside opening, that excited you, that enticed you, that you wanted to be the head coach of the Brookside Cardinals? And can you talk a little bit about, when you're a first-year head coach at a new place, how do you go about it? Do you meet with the kids? You set up their weightlifting? You got to get assistant coaches? How are you going through all those types of things?
Yeah, so we were board approved last week. So this week on Thursday was our first time really getting to meet the kids. One of the things that obviously intrigued me about the job was the guys that we have coming back, and I told them that if it wasn't for the confidence that I had in the players that we have in that room, then I probably wouldn't be there right now. And everyone you talk to, it seems like there's not a direct reason of why the program has not had the success that it has wanted in the past. And obviously it's my job to figure out what that root cause is. But we've got the administrative support. We've got guys playing football. So there's no excuse at this point from a coaching staff standpoint and from a player standpoint of why we can't have success and why we can't turn around. And my main message on Thursday when I met with them was really, what an opportunity we have that at some point, whether it's 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, or this year, somebody's going to be the first team to ever make the playoffs at our school. So just what an opportunity that is, and how many high school football players, not just in Ohio, but in America, have the opportunity right now and are in a position that you have the chance that if some things get fixed, to do something that's never been done in the history of a school before. And how cool is that opportunity? So that's something that we're all really excited for.
Well, Coach, you mentioned you played 3 sports. Boys basketball at Brookside, never had tremendous success year in, year out. I'm sure you've heard of Larry Babbicks, who's your boys basketball coach. They've won 4 consecutive league crowns. Maybe it's sort of similar for you, coming into football. When he came into basketball, it wasn't like Brookside had a tremendous tradition there either, and they were able to get it turned around.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, and like I said, it was kind of going through in the interview process, just trying to evaluate the job. I went to a few basketball games and just to kind of feel out the atmosphere. And like I said, when you're there, you get the sense that there's no reason why we can't turn this thing around. And you look at the atmosphere that are at the basketball games right now and the success that the basketball team is having. You've got basketball players that are also on the football roster that are starving to win in football as well. So yeah, Larry's done an outstanding job, and obviously someone that I'll lean on at times and try to recreate what he's done with the basketball program. But yeah, that's obviously something that is a sign that yes, this can get fixed.
Bobby, can you give us just some basic offensive and defensive philosophies? Not to give away your game plan or anything like that, but are you a spread guy or running? You just tell us about offensively, defensively, maybe not the X's and O's, but just the mindset. What do you want Brookside football to be known for? What do you want your identity to be?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to evaluate the guys that we have, and we've been doing that for a while now in terms of diving into what players do we have, as well as some of the other teams in the league. And how can we put guys in positions to do things that they're good at, and try to minimize the amount of times that we're asking a guy to do something that maybe he struggles with. We're gonna play, I would think, a fun style of offense, probably pretty multiple at times. But again, some of that's going to be dependent on once we get to July and August and figure out really what the guys on our roster can do. But put guys in situations to do things they're good at. I would venture to guess that we're probably going to throw it more than they have in the past, just because of the skill sets of the guys that we have. And then defensively, we're still working through some things staff-wise. So the staff is not finalized yet. So we're still working through some things defensively.
Coach, and again, not trying to get all the X's and O's and all the coaching secrets that you have out of you, but like you had said, you've been at small schools, you've been at big schools, right? You've kind of seen it all in terms of high school level and in what it takes to succeed at different levels. In your mind, what are some of those basic things that need to happen when you're at a smaller school like a Brookside and you're trying to get things turned around and moving in the right direction? What are some of those things? And we've seen it with some of our small schools in the area, right? Columbia's had a great string of success, obviously. What are some of those things that go into making a smaller school football program successful in your mind?
I mean, obviously, number one for our guys right now, and we talked about this on Thursday, is the next 3 months, we've got to have a great offseason in the weight room. And that's the attendance in the weight room is obviously something that's extremely important. It's probably not where we want it to be at this point in time. And we've got to figure out as a coaching staff how to make that happen. And Ron Bear, our strength and conditioning coordinator, has done a great job kind of working with me in terms of how can we organize this thing to where it's as convenient as it's convenient for the players as possible to get in the weight room and what times we're being in there. So they have no excuse for why they're not going to be in there. Obviously they're playing other sports too, but I know our other sports lift with their guys as well. And then on top of that, obviously numbers in the football program, but like I said, we're not at a spot where we're at where we have less numbers than other schools. Like we've got enough guys on our roster compared to the teams on our schedule, where that should not be an issue. But obviously you're still constantly trying to, hey, there's this kid on the basketball team that should be playing. Hey, there's this kid on the baseball team that should be playing, and try to get those guys to join us and to get as many people playing as possible. And then obviously long term, it starts with the youth program and getting as many players involved in youth football as possible as well.
Coach, was there any schedule changing by the time you had gotten board approval, or was for this fall, was that already kind of set in stone for you guys?
For the 10 games, our 10 games have already been, so they were all 2-year contracts from last year. So, okay. all the non-league games have already been scheduled previous to when I was on board. Yep.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, just more of a curiosity thing for me than anything on that. So, well, Coach, hey, we'll let you go. I know you said you're out of town doing some stuff, so we'll keep you on that schedule. But thank you very much for the time here this morning. Like I said, I'm sure once we get into the summer and then into the early stages of the fall, we'll be pestering you some more for some preview information on your guys and everything like that. But hey, best of luck to you and your guys this summer. Like you said, I'm sure it's a huge off season for you guys starting right now with getting in the weight room and everything. So best of luck to you and your guys, and again, really excited to see what you guys do once we kick things off in August.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me on.
You got it, Coach. Thank you. That's Bobby Stout, head coach, the new head coach, I should say, of the Brookside Football Cardinals. And I'm excited, Rob. I'm excited to see what Coach Stout can do. I mean, we obviously love Coach Scott O'Donnell and what he was able to do in his long time at Brookside. He was always very cordial with us. They just didn't, the success just wasn't there in recent years. And again, that's no knock on him. That's no knock on any of those kids. But I'm sure there's just a little bit of excitement in that program right now to see what they can do again when we kick things off in August.
Sometimes just a different voice, a different way of doing things. Maybe different philosophy, just in youth can give you some enthusiasm, some excitement, and like you said, that's no knock, on him at all in any way. And we wish Coach O'Donnell well going forward, whatever he ends up doing. He was classy with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
He did his best. There were glimpses, over the times where it looked like, well, maybe. And, let's face it, you mentioned Columbia, you got Firelands, you got Keystone, you got Black River. There are some really good teams in that LC8
right.
that in football that maybe don't get quite the credit they deserve, but let's see what Bobby Stout can do.
Yeah, so certainly appreciate his time this morning. Again, sounds like a huge offseason for him. Kind of similar to what Brian Morgan told us at North Ridgeville when he started to get that program turned around. Yeah. And I know school size, obviously vastly different there between Brookside and North Ridgeville, but one of the first things he said, Rob, if you remember, weight room, right? Getting these guys in that weight room looking like football players, right? Not like you and I, but looking like actual football players. That's kind of the first step, right? So certainly sounds like Coach Stout has the game plan in place. And again, we're excited to see what him and his guys can do.
We didn't get a chance to ask him, but the other thing is, let's face it, Avon is about a 9-iron away, right? I mean, they are literally right. You can say, look, I'm not
with my stroke.
Well, me either, but I'm just saying he could tell his guys, look, guys, there's a state championship right next door. Now,
Yeah.
granted, they're a way bigger school and all that,
A little bit. Yeah.
but I'm just trying to make the point of you've got Avon Lake right on the other right, and then you've got Avon. Why not here?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I mean, so
you're right.
who
No,
knows?
it's right there. It's right there. The example's certainly right there. Well, you said Avon, and we're going to talk some Avon girls basketball after this timeout. I see him waiting patiently in the queue there. Adam Costrilla, head coach of the Avon Lady Eagles. Big tournament game for them on Wednesday, a rematch from the regular season. They'll go over to Lakewood to take on the Rangers, and we'll have that one for you here on WEOL. So we'll talk to Coach Costrilla about that one after this timeout. It's Rocco and Rob with you on the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. We'll be right back after this timeout.
Nick Abraham Elyria Ford is proud to once again be a part of the Cleveland Auto Show, running February 20th through March 1st at the IX Center. Check out the latest models, explore new technology, and find the perfect ride that suits your lifestyle. Love what you see at the show? Head over to Nick Abraham Elyria Ford for special deals you don't want to miss. From the show floor to the showroom, your next ride awaits at Nick Abraham Elyria Ford at the corner of Route 57 and East Broad Street in Elyria.
Hi, Tim Elkhorn, Cavs radio voice. Recently, we had some trees removed. So again, singing the praises of EcoTree Services. In a few hours, EcoTree had removed the unsightly trees, cleaned the debris, and opened the area for a new fence. I can't say enough good things about the people at EcoTree. I've used them several times, always thrilled with their work. If you have trees that require pruning or need to be removed, contact EcoTree, a local business that deserves your business. They've earned mine. Go to ecotreeservices.com.
It is the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Rocco Nucci, Rob Polinsky here with you, making our way through the 9 o'clock hour. And let's talk some girls basketball. We have tournament action for you this afternoon. It'll be Millbury Lake. The Flyers heading to Sailor Country to take on Doug Mahalik and the Vermilion Sailors. A 2 o'clock tip right here on WEOL.com and on that Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel. But next Wednesday, we'll be taking in some action via the girls coached under this guy right here, Adam Costrilla, head coach of the Avon Lady Eagles. Again, tournament game for them next Wednesday on the road at Lakewood. That's a rematch, coach, of course, isn't it, from a game in the regular season. As I look at your guys' schedule here, that was January the 12th. You guys went over to their place. You take the loss there 59-50. So I guess just starting with this, I'm assuming, right, that there's a little bit of hunger from you, your staff, those girls to get back in there and maybe try to take care of business against those guys this time around.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, thanks for asking me on. Yeah, I think that it's always an interesting process when you are in the seed meeting and putting your name on a line as far as we're going to play, who we're going to play, and with us kind of being right smack dab in the middle, it's whoever your first round opponent's going to be is they're going to be really good. And honestly, I think that Lakewood's a good matchup for us. We've played them the last 2 years, know them pretty well, and we felt good about that matchup, and it doesn't hurt that, like you said, we've played them already and kind of have an idea of what we're up against.
Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for you guys or
Sure.
blame injuries with this question or anything like that. But Elena Pagan, was she back yet for that first matchup against Lakewood or no?
Yeah, well, she was back, but she was on a minutes restriction, so that might have been maybe her second game back, honestly. And so that was, and again, I think just for us all together, we're finally kind of healthy and at a point in the year now where we were hoping to be, and and again, I think that obviously having her full strength is definitely a difference maker. But again, we greatly respect Lakewood. They have really good posts, really good guard, so we have our work cut out for us. But again, I think that we do match up pretty well, and I can tell you for sure, a team wearing purple and gold is going to win. That's for sure.
Adam, how different is your team going into this one than you were the first time you played them?
I think so. To not bore you with all the details, I think originally from day one, dealing with a lot of injuries at the beginning of the year and asking some of our younger kids to play a bigger role than what we were initially anticipating. At the time, it was tough. I mean, after last year's season, we made the decision to kind of beef up our non-conference schedule as well, and so with all that combined, it was sure we'd want to win more games than we did, but ultimately, I think it worked out in our favor in the sense that we had kids that got a lot of valuable minutes and kind of grew up quicker than they probably would have anyways, and then getting Elena back, her getting hurt so early in the preseason, some of these kids, when I'm talking at least 3 freshmen, didn't really have much of an opportunity to play with her. So once she's back, we're also at a point of trying to learn how to play with each other, and so I think that's the biggest difference at this point is. Yeah, she was just getting back, but we've now kind of settled in our roles and kind of have our footing as far as that's concerned, and that would be the biggest difference at this point.
Coach, what has to be different on Wednesday than the first time you played Lakewood if you're going to succeed and move on?
Yeah, well, we can't get ourselves in a 15-point hole. We just couldn't buy a basket in the first quarter, and I think at some point it might have even been like 15-3 or something like that, and we got it all the way back to 2, I think, in the second half, and then towards the end we were around 3 or 5, and then a free throw game that the lead. So to be honest with you, we have to execute a little bit better in our half court stuff. And we know that they're, like I mentioned before, they have a really good point guard, really good post, but if they're going to get their 15, 14 points, great. But I think what hurt us the last time we played them was, we had 2 of their other kids scoring double figures as well. So I think that also has to change. We have to do a good job with that, and keep them off the boards. I would say they're a little bit bigger than us. And so rebounding and, all the way from our guards to our bigs, it's got to be a priority.
Well, Coach, I saw you guys at the end of last calendar year against Elyria Catholic over at Berea Mid Park, and what ended up being a really good basketball game.
Yeah,
it was an 11:00 matinee start of an interesting one, but certainly again a really good game. One of your young ladies who really stood out to me, and I'm curious to see where her game has grown from then until now, is your freshman guard, Chloe Collins. I was just very impressed with the way she handled pressure, just the way she kind of orchestrated the offense in general. There were certainly some flashes where you go, okay, that's a freshman guard out there, a couple of freshman mistakes or what have you. But overall, man, yeah, I was just very, very impressed with the poise that she played with throughout most of that game. How important has she been, this year and then obviously in years to come for you guys?
Yeah, she's been great. I mean, talk about, so again, primarily, we already mentioned, Elena, coming back. When you pencil her in at the beginning of the year, is that she would probably be backing her up, to be honest. And then when she went down, Chloe was, we're asking a freshman in high school to kind of be our lead ball handler at the varsity level. And she's one of those kids that I was talking about before, about how, she had to grow up pretty quick and get battle tested, without a whole lot of experience there. So I knew she would be really good, just because you can't tell if she's playing well or playing bad. In other words, her demeanor doesn't change. She really does personify that adage that we use a lot here, which is next play. You just have to, good, bad, whatever, we have to move on. And she just plays really hard. One thing that is kind of cool with her is again, she's probably maybe 5'2", and she might be third on our team in rebounds. But she really does a really good job. Like, she might even be pound for pound, inch for inch, our best rebounder, and that just kind of shows the depth of her game. And And again, I think one of the areas that we struggled last year in the district championship game against Hudson is that we really had one ball handler that could really handle the pressure, and if they take her away, we struggled. And so one of the things we were excited about coming into this year is to have two now, and her freshman Janelle Antrim is another girl that at this point in the game she now was Chloe's backup, and so we have two girls that are freshmen in high school that I feel really really good about as far as handling the basketball and getting us in positions to win. So that part's been fun to see her kind of take on that leadership role. She leads, without saying a whole lot, and she's gonna just scratching the surface for sure for Chloe.
Well, you said she might be third on the team in rebounding for you guys, and I'll correct you in a good way here, though, Coach. As long as Max Preps isn't lying to me, she's actually second for you guys in rebounds.
Well, that's probably true. Yeah,
there you go. Only Audrey Lammers has her beat. So, like you said, maybe,
and Audrey might have her by 8 inches too. So,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, Coach, like I said, we'll have you guys in that tournament game here on WEOL next Wednesday over at Lakewood. So, I'll be in touch in the coming days, looking for starters and stats and all that good stuff from you. But thank you again very much for joining us here this morning, and I guess we'll see you over there at Lakewood next Wednesday, Coach. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks guys so much. I appreciate it.
You got it. It's Adam Castrella, head coach of the Avon Eagles. Again, tournament action for them next Wednesday here on WEOL, a regular season rematch for them against Lakewood. Rob, why don't we step aside, take a super quick timeout because he's been waiting patiently down below in the queue. We'll go from one purple team to another. Kurt Habermill, the head coach of the Vermilion Sailors, will join us after this brief timeout. It's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. We're right back after this.
WEOL.com is your home for local Lorain County sports. See all the latest sports news from around the county, featuring stories by the team at the Chronicle Telegram. Check out our upcoming broadcast schedule to see when your favorite games will be streamed live and free. Find the latest scores all in one place so you never feel behind on the action. And if that's not enough, we have you covered with the latest highlights.
Their pass intercepted by Cowling. Cowling coming the other way. Goes up for the shot, made it, and he's fouled.
WEOL.com, your home for local Lorain County sports.
Welcome back. It's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Rakanushi, Rob Polinsky here with you. And let's keep the line moving and wind down this 9 o'clock hour with none other than head coach of the Vermilion Sailors boys basketball team. It's Kurt Habermill, who joins us here on the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. His guys get a win in their regular season finale against Huron. 56-41 was the final there. So, Coach, first and foremost, thank you for joining us this morning. A good morning to you. How are we doing?
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me. It's always good after a win, so we're doing great today.
There you go. Well, let's start with that, right? You get a win to wind down the regular season. Home game for you guys last night. Was it senior night over at Vermilion last night for your guys?
No, it was actually our Hall of Fame night. So it was a big night in the gym, a big crowd. We honored 4 great people who have been important members of our community, and it was a fun night all around.
I'm sure old Uncle Cliff German had some stories to be shared, plenty in that gym last night, no question about that. So, with getting that win to wind down the regular season, you win 2 of your last 3, including a road win over at Oak Harbor. You guys gave Brookside a pretty darn good contest as well. How do you feel about your guys heading into tournament action? Obviously, it'll be a tough one for you guys on the road over at Bellevue, but again, winning 2 of your last 3 to wind down that regular season, does that kind of give you, your staff, your guys a little bit of confidence heading into tournament action?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, these last 3 games, we've really made strides offensively of getting back to sharing the basketball. We made a few adjustments offensively to get the kids more movement. And in the last 3 games, we haven't had anything less than 15 assists in a game as a team, which is pretty big for us. So, I think we're heading in the right direction going into next Thursday against Bellevue, and I like our chances.
Kurt, is it the golden ore, the wooden ore? You guys play for some kind of an ore, don't you, when it's you guys in Huron?
We used to. I think it's kind of been forgotten about a little bit. But it's always a big it's always a big rivalry
or something or what?
Yeah, who knows? I don't me, I don't really get involved in much of that stuff. I'm kind of about the task at hand and worrying about that. But it's always a good rivalry, and our boys showed up last night after a little bit of a slow start. I thought they had a great second half.
Well, holding them to 41, you had to be pleased with your defensive effort. Knowing you as long as I have, I would assume that that's what you were most pleased with last night.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's been a kind of a flip-flop this year. We've been pretty good offensively a lot of the year. We're averaging over 60 points a game, but defensively at times we've struggled. And I thought, 2 out of the last 3 games, we've really kind of locked down a little bit and made things tough on people. And, I think we limited Huron to 30-some% in the paint last night, which is pretty big. So, if we can figure out that defensive end and be a little more consistent, I think we could get this thing rolling a little bit in tournament.
And you beat a team with great tradition, and you guys have it too. But when you defeat a Huron, and you're an old guy like me, I go back to Coach Caparini and all that kind of stuff. That is no small task, beating them. Is that good to play a team like a Huron heading into your tournament?
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of gets the juices going again for the kids, and it's a long season, so anything we can use as a positive and as motivation to keep this thing going is a great thing, and playing a rival like Huron, definitely helps that aspect.
Well, it certainly is a long season, Coach, and we know how it goes, right? Once you get into the dog days of the basketball season, it's just you're stacking days, right? Practices, games, film sessions, it all really starts to run together. And then you get to the end of the regular season, and you're not alone in this boat, but it'll be, 6 days away from in-game action. Obviously, there'll be practices and things in the meantime, but from last night to your tournament game, a bit of a break that you don't necessarily get in the regular season, outside of maybe like the holiday season. What's kind of the philosophy with handling those days? You just kind of hammer home that preparation work? Is it heavier practices, lighter practices? How do you try to go about that?
So first and foremost, like today, we're getting rest. We're not doing anything today. We need to get some rest, heal up a little bit. We shorten our practices a little bit this time of the year to about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 instead of our normal 2 hours. We'll do a lot of film work. We'll try to, get a lot of shots up to keep the momentum going as far as, shooting the basketball and keeping our rhythm. And then, we'll go hard probably Monday and Tuesday, and then back off definitely on Wednesday and try to get ready for Thursday.
Rob, did you have one? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Coach, I wanted to ask you about going over to Bellevue. I know that, like you, they're in the SBC, but I don't know how you did with them in the regular season. Can you tell us about that? And then, a little bit about the game plan on Thursday. What makes Bellevue good this year, and what's it going to take to compete over there on the road and try to get a W?
Yeah, this is actually our first time playing Bellevue. They're in the upper division, and we didn't have them as a crossover game this year. So this is our first time playing them. Their gym's always a really tough place to play, and I've had the opportunity to see them a couple different times play. They're a very, very good defensive team. At times, they've had trouble scoring the basketball a little bit. They just had a big win last night. Before last night, they had lost about 6 out of 7 games, I believe. But they beat a really good Willard team last night at Willard. So obviously they have that capability to beat anybody. And with the way they play defense, you got to make sure that you're not trying to play 1-on-5 basketball against them. You got to keep their defensive moving, because if not, they do a really good job of playing help defense and team defense.
Well, Coach, kind of based on what you had said earlier in this interview thus far, and I know this one's kind of cliche, but all coaches say, we want to be playing our best basketball, end of February, early March, or whatever it is. In your mind, do you feel that you're at least approaching that potentially with the way you guys played some defense last night? You talked about it, the way you're sharing the ball offensively, getting those assist numbers up, not as much, kind of one-on-one isolation ball from your guys. Do you feel like you're at least approaching sort of that playing our best basketball territory right about now?
Yeah, I really do. Against Oak Harbor, we had 19 assists on 26 baskets. We had, I think, 17 assists against Brookside on 28 baskets. I look back to that Brookside game. They're obviously a phenomenal basketball team, and we had a really bad start against them where we kind of were tentative and not being very aggressive. And then once we figured out that, we could play with this group and go after them a little bit, I thought we did a really good job against them and gave ourselves a chance to win. The problem is we put ourselves in a 21-5 hole to start the game. And when we cut it to 4 or 5, you waste a lot of energy getting back in the game to do that. But I do like where we're at. I think, they're starting to see the outcome of what happens when you move the basketball and when you attack and get guys get other guys shots, and it's being successful because we're a good shooting team when we attack, but when we just stand around and pass the ball around the perimeter and try to get shots that way, we're not very good.
Coach, I like a dummy. I don't have it in front of me. It's over in my folder on the other side of my chair. Your sectional district. You're in the Northwest district, which is different than what over here with all these super districts and all that. My question is, can you just tell us about your tournament draw? Who were some of the top seeds? And if you were fortunate enough to beat a Bellevue, what would the tournament trail kind of look like for the Sailors moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I probably won't make people happy from the Northwest about this, but I think our tournament draws a train wreck a little bit. They try to combine 3 different districts, and unlike the Northwest, they don't seed everybody all at once. They go 1 through 8 into 3 different districts, and then try to combine those 3 districts into one tournament bracket, and it's just kind of a mess. And you got to just deal with it. And in our district, we're a 7th seed out of 8. If we would be in the other district, we'd be a 3rd seed. And if we'd be in the other district, we'd be a 4th seed. But yet we still combine those 3 districts. So it's a weird way to do things. But I guess as the old guy, I don't really care if they are upset with what I say. I just don't like how they do it. And Perkins is the 1 seed in ours, and Otsego and Lake are the 2 and 3 seeds, with Bellevue being the 4 seed. But then we can cross over and play other seeds, and it's just kind of a mess. So if we win this game, we'll probably, most likely run into Perkins, who we've also had a chance to scout a couple different times. And then we cross over into the other districts. And yeah, so obviously you can tell how I feel about it. It's frustrating to me.
Well, I didn't know all that, or I wasn't trying to frustrate you, Coach. Although I
Oh, no, you're good.
I got French toast sticks all over my sweatshirt, so I'm frustrated too. But where would the Perkins game be? Would that be neutral site, or would that be at Perkins? And I always thought in the Northwest, the sectionals were at a neutral site. I didn't realize that you had to go to the home team, the higher seeds home field. I wonder when that switched.
Yeah, they just started that like a year or 2 ago. Okay. And yeah, so we're kind of getting up to the times of all the other districts in the state of actually doing that. But as far as the district goes, if we would get to Perkins, we would play them at Fremont High School. So that would be a neutral site. And once you get to districts in the Northwest, then it's all neutral sites.
Gotcha.
Understood. Well, Rob, I know we're not bound by, radio FCC regulations or anything like that, but Kurt, we appreciate you still giving us the PG version of what I'm sure your true thoughts behind some of these, district things go. But hey, Coach, thank you very much for joining us here this morning. Congratulations to your guys on closing out the regular season with the win, and best of luck to you and your guys as you get set to hit the road for a tough tournament game next week.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Hope you have a good tournament trail yourselves, and look forward to hearing from you soon.
Sounds good, Coach. Thank you again. That's Kurt Habermill, head coach of the Vermilion Sailors, kind enough to share some time with us here this morning. All of our coaches, they're doing the radio-friendly PG version of their true thoughts on the districts. And, hey, like I told Coach Delisio, and I know that's, he's not in the Northwest district, Chris Delisio and his Olmsted Falls Bulldogs, but I think all around, not trying to throw complete shade at the OHSAA, right? But there's clearly some things with the tournament draw in multiple districts where it's leaving a little bit to be desired, I think, with some of our coaches.
And that's what's so weird about it, is that you don't have a statewide way of doing it.
Correct.
That each district has their own nuances, has the ways they want to do it. It's not quite the super district here, but it sort of is in the way that he just mentioned. All 3 can blend together. So there's a lot of irregularities when you let each district of the state dictate what they want to do, instead of having it under one umbrella where they say, okay, guys, this is the way it is.
Right.
And part of that, and not to get into the whole thing, but you've got 7 divisions, which is way too many. You've got all these different parts of the state where some parts of the state have big schools, some have tiny schools, yada, yada, yada.
Sure.
Makes it very, very difficult. I get all that. But to Kurt's point, it would be nice if they had some kind of uniformity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think one component, and like you said, not trying to get too deep into the weeds with this, but I don't know if you guys mentioned in previous weeks, but especially with some of the girls tournament draws, you're getting placed before your regular season even ends. So there's an opportunity for you to potentially move up or down with seeding that you don't necessarily get because your draw happens a week or maybe even two before you're done playing regular season games. So just a lot of things I think to consider for the OHSAA moving forward.
And I think kind of like what Chris Delisio said, if you're going to seed us, you're going to make that automatic, right? They've taken that away, but with going with the system that they do now,
right?
Then to his point was, then why not just have one play 32 and two play 30, however many there are? Or why are we sitting there placing ourselves when you've already decided
kind of what it is?
Here's what you're seated instead of voting on it.
Yeah.
Okay, you're seated, just place it, just like it, just like it would be in the NCAA. One plays 16, two plays 50, whatever. Top seed play the lowest and go forward.
Well, it's hard to make it perfect, and there's always going to be someone unhappy, someone happy. So it is what it is. But hey, all we can ask for is good tournament basketball when it all gets underway, right? So yeah, that's all you can do. So that concludes our 9 o'clock hour. I see our first 10 o'clock hour guest waiting patiently, Josh Scharf, head coach of the Columbia Raiders. So tell you what, Coach, sit tight real quick for us. If you could, we're going to get a quick sponsor thank you in. And when we return, we'll talk some Columbia Raider basketball with their head coach, Josh Scharf. They beat Independence last night, 65-56 was the final score there. And again, a quick reminder, 2 o'clock this afternoon, we tip off our tournament coverage here on WEOL. Girls basketball at Vermillion. The Sailors welcome in the Lake Flyers out of Millbury. So we'll be excited for that one. Again, 2 o'clock tip with myself, Jared Kozart, and Gary Pelter later on this afternoon on WEOL. We'll be right back after this timeout with more of the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show.
Nick Abraham Elyria Ford is proud to once again be a part of the Cleveland Auto Show, running February 20th through March 1st at the IX Center. Check out the latest models, explore new technology, and find the perfect ride that suits your lifestyle. Love what you see at the show? Head over to Nick Abraham Elyria Ford for special deals you don't want to miss. From the show floor to the showroom, your next ride awaits at Nick Abraham Elyria Ford at the corner of Route 57 and East Broad Street in Elyria.
Lorain County has a story every day. Make sure you don't miss it. From breaking news in high school sports to schools, business, and community events, the Chronicle has it all. Stay connected to your neighbors and your home team with coverage that matters most to you. Don't just hear about Lorain County, know Lorain County. Subscribe today at chroniclet.com/subscribe and get the news that keeps you in the know. The Chronicle Telegram, Lorain County's largest newspaper.
Lorain County Community College is where you'll lock in your future success. We've helped thousands of people just like you match skills and experience with a career. We can help you train for a career that is in demand right now. You can even work in your field while taking classes. LCCC will get you prepared, get you credentialed, and get you working. Lorain County Community College. Your goals, your career, your future. Enroll today.
It's the biggest show of the year, the Cleveland Auto Show, running February 20th through March 1st at the IX Center. Nick Abraham Buick GMC is once again proud to be a part of the event, so you can see their latest lineup packed with style, performance, and innovation. Take the drive to their Elyria showroom, where special auto show deals are waiting for you. From the auto show to your driveway, get your next vehicle at Nick Abraham Buick GMC, Route 57 and East Broad Street in Elyria. Lorain Medina Rural Electric offers a quick and easy way to pay bills online, monitor your daily electric use, and receive updates from your cooperative through SmartHub. Members can sign up for this service at www.lmre.org or contact the LMRE office at 440-647-2133 for more information.
And we're back on the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Rob Canucci, Rob Polinsky here with you. Josh Scharf, Columbia Raider head boys basketball coach, waiting patiently. So, Coach, if you can let us recap the scores and preview our action today. Once again, real quick, we will get right to you. So I'll waste no time here, Rob. I'll tip things off here with our scores. Once again, from last night, Vermillion, a winner over Huron. We just heard from Kurt Habermill. 56-41 was the final score there. Lorain back in action, but they fall short to Cleveland Heights, 73-54, the final score there. Brett Larrick and his Elyria Pioneers knock off Avon 74-68, so they get the sweep of Mike Fitch's Eagles. We'll talk to Brett Larrick later on in this 10 o'clock hour. The Bulldogs of Olmsted Falls get a share of that SWC crown. Chris Delisio and his guys a winner over North Ridgeville, 56-50. We appreciate his time earlier this morning. Padua gets a win over Elyria Catholic, 54-50. Bruins head coach Brian Ainsbury joins us here in about 10-15 minutes or so. Fairview upends Brookside, 86-61. Wellington gets a nice win over Northwestern. The Dukes winners, 71-40. The Raiders of Columbia winners over Independence, 65-56. The final score there. And Midview picks up a nice end-of-season non-conference win over Colin Myers and the Firelands Falcons, 58-53. Jim Brabennick will join us at about 10:30 here this morning. And the Cavs in the association winners over the Charlotte Hornets. Wine and Golders get it done 118-113.
And today we have girls tournament action again on WEOL.com and on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube page. My co-host today, Rocco Nushi, will head west. He'll go to Vermilion as the Vermilion Sailors will take on Millbury Lake, the Flyers, to open up our tournament coverage. We'll have tournaments for you all next week as well, and you can see that schedule on WEOL.com as the week evolves. We'll keep updating that, and Rocco will be over there with Jared Kozar and Gary Pelder. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, Midview has a long trip. They go to Canfield. It's going to be Clearview at Norwayne at noon today. Brookside goes to the east side to take on the Bison of Beechwood. It'll be Canton South at Keystone tonight at 7. We'll have Rocky Houston on at 10:50. He knows a little bit about advancing in tournaments. And it will be the Open Door Patriots as they travel to Lisbon, Ohio, to take on David Anderson. That's this afternoon at 1 o'clock. Good luck to all of our area teams that are opening up tournament play today.
Well, it's a fun time of the year and fun for numerous reasons. Part of that is we get to test Rob's geographical knowledge over here, and that's something I don't think you've ever flunked here on WEOL. So good job out of you.
I don't know much, but I do know a few things.
Well, somebody that certainly knows a few things about coaching a good basketball team, it's Josh Sharf, head coach of the Columbia Raiders. He joins us this morning after his guys get a 65-56 win over Independence to wrap up the regular season. So his guys, they'll finish the regular season campaign 12-10 as they get set to take on East Canton in their tournament opener. That'll be next Thursday at 7 o'clock. Well, Coach, first and foremost, thank you very much for joining us this morning. How are we doing?
Doing well. Appreciate having us on.
Yeah, you got it, Coach. And let's talk about last night if we could, right? A 9-point victory for you guys over the Blue Devils of Independence, 65-56. And, I know I've said it a few times here on the show. I do some girls basketball coaching over there at Independence, so I have a little bit of familiarity with Matt Grendel, their boys coach, and sort of their boys program over there. And I know they got some pretty darn good athletes on that Blue Devil roster, and you guys end up getting it done last night. Well, let me start with this. Was it senior night for you guys last night with the home finale?
It was senior night for us. Yes, we a cheerleader and a couple bowlers and a couple gymnastics athletes. We celebrated them before the game last night.
Fantastic. I know we've probably asked you this before in regards to senior night, but what is it about senior night that can make it, I don't want to say more difficult to kind of focus in and hone in on a game, but there's so much pop and circumstance that happens on senior night. And like you said, it's not just your guys that get honored. There's cheerleaders, bowlers, other winter sports athletes that get their due as well for that. How kind of is that trying to navigate through all of that? And ultimately at the end of the night, you got to try to focus in and win a basketball game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great to be able to celebrate those athletes, ours and the other sports. But it's great because the community comes out. It's a bigger crowd that night, and last night the atmosphere in that gym was pretty electric. It was awesome to see. Our kids responding. The student section was on fire last night. So it was a great atmosphere last night. It was a great game. And to your point, some really good players.
I think we lost Josh.
I think we might have lost Coach there for a second.
Maybe see if we can get him back. It looks
Yeah.
like he. We got
you, Coach. Sorry, we lost the last half of that answer there, but no problem.
So, Coach,
So,
go ahead.
No, I was
Tell
just
us about
saying.
your.
Oh, man, the connection's not doing us any favors right now. You still got us, Coach? I'm sorry. The connection seems to be doing us a disservice here this morning. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, let me try walking closer to the door. But
And I know you got a shoot-a-thon
Yeah.
happening this morning as well. You guys are trying to get some funds raised for a Florida trip next year for you guys, right?
right, yeah, that's what our guys in the gym right now doing that. And we'll get back out there in a little bit. But to your point last night, I thought our guys played extremely well. You know, their point guard, their lefty number 4, is a really good guard, really good shooter, gets to the rim really well. You know, we started with Logan on him. He did a great job in the first half, and then midway through the third, we put Graham Ross on him, and I told Graham after the game last night, I thought that's the best I've ever seen him play. You know, both ends of the floor, he attacked the rim really well. He got some big points for us. And defensively, he really locked that kid up. So, you know, it was great because that really fed our offense too. The energy that Graham brought defensively, it fed into the crowd. Our bench was into it. You know, we had our 8th graders up on the bench with us last night, you know, because their season concluded this past weekend. So it was just a really cool environment for us last night.
Coach, last time I saw you, you were at Keystone to take on the Wildcats. How has your team improved since then?
You know, the game at Keystone was a good learning experience for us. You know, we cut that game to 5 in the 4th, and you know, we just couldn't hold on to it. But you know, last night it was fun. It was really cool because I told my dad after the game, it was one of the coolest experiences I had as a coach, where you can just. Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot of in-game coaching last night. You know, the guy trusted the guys. They responded well. We just kind of sat back and watched, and they responded. I mean, because we were down 10 in the 4th, you know, and the guys really locked up defensively and fed into our offense. We made some big shots. You know, I thought Jack Washburn was really, really good for us early in the game last night. I think he started the game 5 for 5. You know, Dylan Fisher hit some big shot in the 3rd or 4th quarter to extend that lead. Logan Mengi offensively, as always, was really, really good. You know, and Noah, my kid, hit a big 3 in the 2nd quarter to give us the lead that we've been struggling to get to. So, you know, it was a really good team effort for everybody last night, and it was a good team win.
Well, Coach, you know, you mentioned the defensive effort that you guys put against their guard. I think it's Matty Jermasic you're referencing. I've certainly seen a lot of him, you know, in my 2 years over at Independence. He's a pretty good, darn good guard. You're not lying about that. But again, just kind of talking about that defensive effort. I look here in the Chronicle this morning with the roundup, and 18-7, you guys outscore Independence in that 4th quarter. Seems like really you wore Independence down. It seems like throughout the course of that game, and that really paid off for you guys in those final, you know, 7-8 minutes of action.
Absolutely. You know, Graham and Logan combined made Matty work really, really hard, you know, and that's tiring for a kid, you know, to go 84 feet for 32 minutes, constant ball pressure. You know, nothing was easy for him. You know, we pressured him everywhere because that kid can shoot from anywhere in the gym. You know, so by the 4th quarter, I think he got frustrated because, you know, especially late, Graham really, really defended him extremely well. We got a couple 5-second calls, one on inbound, I think one on live action. So I think we frustrated them, but a part of that was just us working our tails off defensively, working as a group. Once again, we boxed out really well. You know, we held them to 1 contested shot. You know, and there's a lot of stuff like that doesn't show up in the scorebook that matters to our success and matters to the team chemistry.
Coach, regular season now is over. You move to the tournaments. You're going to open up Thursday night at home against East Canton. What can you tell us about your opponent?
Yeah, they've got a couple really good players. Number 1, number 2, point guard and a shooting guard. You know, a lot of film. They sit in the zone. You know, our goal is to get out and run on them a little bit. You can play in some transition, speed them up because, you know, they'll take a minute, 2 minutes off the clock every time if you let them. You know, just being super deliberate on offense. So we need to speed them up. We need to pressure them. It's gonna be a dogfight, I think, and it's gonna be a really good playoff atmosphere here. I think it's gonna be a great game.
Do they remind you of anybody you've seen in the regular season?
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't thought about that yet. You know, I think you compare them to a Midview. You know, where there's some mismatches that Midview presented to us that caused us to defend a little bit differently. So I think that's probably a good comparison. You know, that game as well, when we went to Midview, we stretched that lead out playing in transition, you know, getting some good stops, throwing it ahead and speeding them up. And so I think we're going to have to play a lot like we did that game to come out on top.
Do you, just one more thing on East Canton, do you and the kid, do you like taking on a team that maybe you don't know that much about, that you don't see in the regular season, that your kids, you know, wouldn't see, whether it's AAU or whatever, that's not in the area? Or would you rather be playing somebody that maybe you have a little more familiarity with?
I'm the type of guy that I always feel underprepared going into a game, no matter how much film I watch. So personally, I'd rather play a foe that we're very familiar with, so we know their tendencies, we know, their size, their speed, their athleticism. When you're familiar with your opponent, I think you get a better game plan. Your kids are more ready to play. I mean, they're going to be prepared either way, but they know what they're going to go up against. With these super districts, I know I heard you guys talking about it earlier before we came on, but with these super districts, I mean, there's pros and cons to it. In the past we got stuck in a district with Lutheran East, and I mean that's a foe that's pretty tough to ever get out of. So when you have options, it's fun because you can kind of pick your poison a little bit, so to speak. But you end up playing teams that you have no idea who they are, and it's hard to scout because we just did the draw last week, and every time they played, we had a game. So I know they were in the gym last night. East Canton was in the gym. Grand Valley was in the gym. So they got a live look, but unfortunately we weren't able to. But we've got plenty of film, and we'll just go out and play.
Well, and selfishly for us here at WEOL, Coach, and I don't think we'll be there next Thursday for you guys, but, it's one of those where we certainly hope you guys are hosting in these situations, so it's not
Right.
us going to East Canton. We'll just have to, make the trek to your guys' gym if we were to cover it. But like you said, there's pros and cons to it, certainly. So, well, Coach, thank you very much for your time this morning. Really appreciate it. We'll let you get back to it. I know you guys got an event going on there this morning, but thank you for carving out a few minutes for us. Really appreciate it, and best of luck to you guys as you get ready for East Canton on Thursday.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the coverage of our guys and our athletes in the county. Appreciate it a
You
lot.
got it. It's our pleasure, Coach. That's Josh Sharf, head coach of the Columbia Raiders. Again, they're taking a Florida trip next year, so they're doing a little shoot-a-thon over at the gym this morning to get some, fundraising done for all of that, and that's becoming a little more and more common. We had a handful of girls teams go to Florida this past winter. Avon Lake was there. I believe Midview made a trip down to Florida. Firelands was down there as well. So, Rob, you even went to Florida this past winter, didn't you? Or this current winter.
I did. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm willing to help us. You guys need coverage down there. I don't care if it's a spring baseball or softball thing.
Gosh.
I know people in Florida. Can make it cheap for us. I'm willing to take one for the team.
I'm sure. That's a great sacrifice you'd be willing to make there, my friend.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm willing to do that.
Make sure you put in for mileage if that's what you'll be doing. So. Oh, my goodness. Well, I see him in the queue now. Brian Ansbury, head coach of the Padua Bruins. You had a really good call of a really good game last night. 54-50. Bruins knock off Elyria Catholic. They complete the season sweep over EC in what I'm sure didn't necessarily feel like a clean sweep, but a sweep nonetheless for the Padua Bruins. So Coach Ansbury will join us to talk about that next. All right, after this timeout, it's the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Rocco Nucci, Rob Polinsky here with you. We're right back after this timeout.
Hi, Tim Elkhorn, radio voice of the Cavs. For several years, you've heard me talk about EcoTree Services on WEOL. Recently, I needed trees removed, so of course, I contacted EcoTree. They did an incredible job. The folks at EcoTree were timely, efficient, and the work was flawless. Take it from me. When your trees need attention or even require removal, contact EcoTree Services. Like me, you'll love their work. Find EcoTree Services online at ecotreeservices.com.
Nick Abraham Elyria Ford is proud to once again be a part of the Cleveland Auto Show, running February 20th through March 1st at the IX Center. Check out the latest models, explore new technology, and find the perfect ride that suits your lifestyle. Love what you see at the show? Head over to Nick Abraham Elyria Ford for special deals you don't want to miss. From the show floor to the showroom, your next ride awaits at Nick Abraham Elyria Ford at the corner of Route 57 and East Broad Street in Elyria.
And welcome back as we continue on the Nick Abraham Saturday Morning Sports Wrap-Up Show. Ron Polinsky alongside WEOL Sports Director Rocco Nucci. We're joined now by Padua head coach Brian Ansbury, as last night the Padua Bruins came over to Elyria Catholic. They defeated the Panthers at the Coliseum by a score of 54-50. So the Padua Bruins get the sweep over EC in two very, very tough games. Padua ends the regular season 14-8 overall, 9-3 in the NCL, and that was good for second place to CVCA. And Coach, thanks for joining us. Going back to last night, a close game, 54-50. Well, I thought your advantage on the rebounds. Jared had you doing our stats, 40-22. You guys basically got 2 to every 1 rebound for EC. Was that the biggest difference in your mind last night?
Without a doubt, Rob. I think I did the stats this morning for us, and obviously was cross-checking those with your guys' stats. And the thing that always steps out to me
I would go with your stats, Coach.
I appreciate that. You guys are pretty accurate, Rob. Yeah, I mean, we had 22 offensive rebounds to their 7. So one of our goals every game, we're trying to get 15 plus offensive rebounds, and we pretty much skyrocketed through that. Now, a lot of that was due to a poor, abysmal 33% shooting for us on the night, which in part was due to EC's, really good defense, and Jason has them playing really well. But yeah, I was so happy. We have 23 turnovers, we shoot 33%, and you beat a really good team. And then you go look at the stats, and you're like, well, our defense stepped up, phenomenal, holding them to 50 points. But then the offensive rebounds, the second and third efforts, I'm really happy with their effort there.
Jaden Gambrell, your outstanding freshman, had 3 threes in the first half. I believe he finished with 16. It seemed like every time EC was looking to make a run, boy, he kind of made a big play for you, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's a special player. I'm biased, obviously, but I think he's one of the best freshman guards in the state. And he has really grown up at the beginning of the season, just playing through some moments where maybe he wasn't locked in or engaged. And if he plays with the motor, which he's been doing since about game 3, he can be a special player. And we're fortunate to have him in our program and play alongside the other talented guys. But yeah, Rob, you said it. I mean, we were 3 20 from 3, and he was the only one hitting them last night. Dominic Harb, our sophomore off the bench, is an excellent shooter, had a rough night shooting. If you would have told us he was 0 of 5 from 3 and we only hit 3, would we win? Again, I would have said we'd be real fortunate to do that. So Jaden stepped up big time for us last night, and the team stayed locked in.
Coach Rob kind of alluded to it already with one of his questions. I wasn't at the game last night. I was actually just watching on YouTube from home last night, and you guys had a little bit of separation. EC really closed that gap, but then kind of like Rob said, you guys seem to have an answer every time EC would seem to inch closer and closer and closer, really all the way to that final buzzer. What does that say about your team that you guys can kind of, I don't want to say have a lapse, but a team creeps back in on you guys and you don't fold, you don't panic, you don't freak out. Everybody kind of stays the course and you end up getting the job done. What does that say about your team, and what kind of confidence might that give you, knowing that you're going to have more tough games ahead now that tournament time is underway?
Yeah, Rocco, I think a big thing about that, and we've been in some battles. I think similar to Elyria Catholic, I was talking to Coach Smith before the game. Both of our schedules have been pretty tough, and we've been playing some close games. Obviously, our battles versus each other, but we're learning how to win in different ways. Like with a young team, we've been in almost every single scenario where we've had a big lead and had to, pull or hold off a team that's tenacious coming after us. So again, playoff time is survive in advance. So it doesn't need to be pretty. We just got to get the things done and go from there. I do want to touch on Braylon Benson. He's been our rock all year. He's like a double-double guy, a sophomore. He had 15 rebounds last night, 9 offensive, and I think 10 or 12 points. He just comes to work every single day and plays hard. He was one of our captains, and I thought he was phenomenal all season, especially last night. He was huge.
It's such a huge bonus, isn't it? You mentioned a sophomore there contributing in such a huge way for you guys. We talked about your freshman already that had a really nice performance for you guys last night. It's always interesting to see how underclassmen like that are able to contribute at such a high level so quickly on the varsity stage. I mean, that's just got to be such a huge boost for your guys, knowing you got some youngsters on that roster that already know how to win again on a varsity stage.
Yeah, Rocco, it's great. I mean, last year we graduated 6 seniors, and 3 of them were starters. We had Riley Cervanka as one, all-time leading scorer in our school. But those younger guys like Jack Boswell and Antoine Wooten that I was telling Rob about, our juniors. Antoine didn't have a great game offensively, but he brings energy, and Jack Boswell was pretty consistent last night. And then the freshmen, sophomores are really now sophomores, juniors at this point in the year. And those older guys leading them, and them seeing the experience of our group last year, running to the regionals first time in 20 years, really gave them a taste of what it is going to mean to get there and what it takes to get there. And that defensive effort, holding a good team like EC to 50 and just asserting ourselves defensively is a really big thing for us.
Brian Ansbury joins us, 10th year head coach at Padua. If the name sounds familiar, he used to be the head coach at Lake Ridge Academy. Before that, an assistant coach at Lakewood St. Ed's, played for Eric Flannery and some of his great St. Ed's teams in the late 90s. Coach, last night, Matisse Williams, EC's leading scorer, you held him to 8. I don't know if that was the game plan. I guess that's what I'll ask you. Were you trying to take him out of his game? And just talk about your defensive effort. You talked about your offensive woes, but you held EC to 50 points, and they only made 1 3-pointer the entire game, and that was very late in the basketball game.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Matisse is a special player. And again, Jason's got a young group that we're very similar to the next couple of years in the league. We're going to be battling it out with also the other opponents in our conference, which is very strong. But Matisse last game, I think the first time we played, I think he had 18 or 20. He had some big clutch shots. He's a versatile kid. He's very good at the mid range. He can step out and hit threes and drive to the hole. He's a smart, savvy player. So our focus was basically we didn't want them getting downhill. The first time at Padua, they kind of beat us off the dribble a little bit. I thought last night was outstanding. Obviously, that first quarter, we jump out to a 10-0 lead. But with Wooten in foul trouble, we switched to a zone in the second quarter, which we don't play a lot of, but we've been practicing that a lot the past couple weeks. And I thought our energy and effort in the zone was great. We just couldn't get, transition points the other way. We were throwing the ball all over the gym when we did get a long rebound, but I was very happy with that. Shutting down their top scorer. They have a variety of scores any given night, but Matisse is a special player for sure.
Well, Coach, we can close with this. You guys open up the tournament on the road at Nordonia. That is next Friday night, a 7:00 tip. Could you share some early thoughts from you on that one in regards to your opponent and what concerns you with them?
Yeah, it's going to be a battle. I mean, our whole district, the way it's played out with the seeds, there's, Nordonia is a team that could win the district. We could win the district. Gilmore could win the district. You got Lutheran West down below, and then a juggernaut in Youngstown Cheney. I mean, it's a bloodbath, but that's what we do it for, and we're ready to go. We had a similar, route last year. We had to knock off some good teams on the road. But we're ready to go. Nordonia is well coached. Darren Ford does a great job. They play a matchup zone. They're pretty savvy. They knocked off one of the best teams in probably the state in Brecksville a couple weeks ago. So they're very talented. Got a lot of film on them. We have some familiarity. We scrimmaged them in the preseason, but that really doesn't mean much at this time of the year. So we'll be ready to go. But they're very talented and well coached.
Very good. So we're certainly looking forward to seeing how that one plays out for you guys. But again, Coach, thank you very much for the time this morning. We greatly appreciate it. Congratulations on the big road win last night to wrap up the regular season. And best of luck to you and your guys as you get set to hit the road for Nordonia next Friday night.
Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
You as well, Coach. It's Brian Ansberry, head coach of the Padua Bruins. Again, their winners last night over Elyria Catholic, 54-50. It was the final score in that one. So, Rob, we could just keep the train moving here because I know he's been waiting in the queue for a while, and I know I for sure haven't gotten a chance to talk with him yet this season. He's the head coach of the Midview Middies boys basketball team. It's Jim Brabenik who joins us now on screen. His guys get a big win last night over Firelands. The final score there, 58-53. I had to find it on my paper there quickly. Rob, that was one we didn't even see on the radar ahead of things, which is no slight to either side. We had just totally missed that one. So I was surprised to see that score pop up later, not in terms of what the final was, but just the fact that you guys were playing Firelands, Coach. But big win for you guys. And let me just start with this, right? I mean, I'm sure in your mind, not the season you guys wanted in terms of overall wins and losses. But putting that aside, finishing the regular season with a big home non-conference win over Firelands, just what did that mean to you and your guys to get that done last night?
Yeah, it was awesome for our guys. I'm just really happy for them. It's been a tough 2 months when you're not able to get any wins in that stretch. So our guys just continuing to be able to play, and even being down 10 in the fourth quarter last night, we could have folded, but we battled back and were able to get a win.
What does that say about your guys to have that kind of resiliency, not even just from an overall perspective, like you said, when you're going 1 or 2 months without getting something done in that W column, but just in the course of a game, like you said, you're down double digits late in that contest and you still find a way to kind of persevere, get that done. What does that say about your guys and just kind of that never give up, never die attitude?
Yeah, it says a ton about them. The way things have been going this year and the way things were going in the game, easily could have folded and done what we've done the last month, but they kept battling, and it was senior night for our guys, and I think our seniors really stepped up and they wanted to end on a positive note on our home court, and they did that.
Coach, what got the game turned around? If you're losing by 10 in the fourth quarter, how did the script get flipped, and how were you able to pull that one out?
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with he didn't score. I don't know if he scored, but Zaire Young did a nice job of really amping the pressure up. We started pressing them at the end, and he got some steals and got us some easy looks, and then Luke Jockel got hot in the fourth quarter. I think he hit 4 threes within like a 4-minute stretch there that got us the lead and got us back in the game, and then we were able to hold on.
So, Jim, you conclude the regular season with a win. As Rocco mentioned, as we all know, it wasn't the type of regular season you wanted, but how important is that? Does that give you a little bit of momentum as you head into the tournament with your tournament draw? I guess you guys already had your tournament draw. I know you go to Hoban, but how good is it just to end the year with, on a positive note for your kids as you get ready for tournament play?
Yeah, it definitely keeps the spirits up. We got 4 more practices left until we go to Hoban, and we know what we're getting into. We know Hoban's really good, and for us to pull a crazy upset, we have to play a perfect game. But what it does is it keeps the spirits high, and our kids will come to practice this week, hopefully re-energized, the start of a new season. We're both 0-0. Crazier things have happened before, but we know we got our hands full, and we're going to have to play pretty good to beat them.
Well, you play in a really good conference. Do they remind you of anybody you've seen in the regular season?
I haven't really dug too deep into them. We played them in the tournament last year, and it was the same story. And it was a 8-point game in the fourth quarter, and a few things didn't go our way. So I think our kids are confident and believe they have a chance. But to me, like thinking of them, they're big, they're strong, they're physical, kind of like an Avon or an Olmsted Falls.
Well, Coach, and not to get into the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, because I know you guys as head coaches don't necessarily dive into all that, but you take a look at your schedule on Max Preps, and again, the win total is what it is, but it certainly could have been a very different story. I mean, several close losses for you guys against some really caliber, opponents. And again, not to dive into the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but I imagine for you, your staff, your guys, and you already kind of said it, there's got to be some belief, right, that you guys are still, at the end of the day, a pretty darn good basketball team. You got athletes, right? You got scorers, just like everybody else does. It seems like you guys have the pieces to where, I know, like you said, it would be an upset if you guys were to beat Hoban, but still some belief that your guys can go into a postseason environment and make a little bit of noise.
Yeah, and I think we have been playing our best basketball over the last 2 weeks. Olmsted Falls won the conference, and I thought that was probably our best game of the year. We were hanging around all night, and that gave us some belief. And then we lost Tuesday by 1 point, and we were 1 for 17 from 3. So if we hit one more shot there, we win that game. You said woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I think our guys, like I said, a win last night was huge for us, just for our morale, for the coaches, for the players. Keep the wheels on the bus and have some high spirits going into next week.
You mentioned last night being senior night, and regardless of how things go against Hoban, you're down to those final practices with that group of seniors. What has that group of gentlemen meant to you?
Yeah, a ton. We got 5 really good seniors, good kids through toughness this year, and they've stayed the course and continue to battle, continue to show up. I'm proud of them. Glad they're my group, and let's hope we have more than 4 practices with them.
Jim, can you take us in the locker room last night after the game? Your kids, after a tough season, win on senior night. They know it was their last game at home. What was that like? Just tell us a little bit about how that went, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. And we also, our 5th senior has been our student manager the last 4 years, and I really wanted to get him in the game last night. And the whole time I'm down 10, I'm thinking we might get him in a game when we're down 15, and then we make the run. And now all of a sudden we're up 6 or 8 points there with 10 seconds left. We call timeout. We get him in the game, and after the clock, though, he gets a bucket in front of our student section, and our kids, it was awesome, man. You forget about your record at that point. And in the locker room, we were just celebrating Jake, and it was a special moment for sure.
Coach, how important are those types of moments? And not even just, in the midst of a season like you guys are having, but even if it was the opposite, right? If you had won 18, 19 games or what have you, to have those kinds of moments at the end of the season. I mean, I think it kind of grounds all of us, right? It almost humbles all of us to a certain extent, just kind of seeing those electric moments like that. I'm sure those have just got to be really special moments that you hold on to for a really long time.
Absolutely. Like I said, in the tough season, when you find moments like that, you forget about all that stuff. And our team really came together and for him and for our seniors. And it does make a night like that special in the midst of a hard year.
Fantastic.
Jim Dersbrook, can you explain to the viewers, to the listeners, what exactly, we always hear of that, student managers. I know they do things behind the scenes. I know they're helpful to the program. They're essential to a program. Can you just talk about what they do and what they mean on a day-to-day basis and their dedication?
Yeah, he's showed up hasn't played in a game and showed up to every practice for the last 4 years. So his dedication comes to team dinners. Our kids love being around Jake, and just to see him and the family and the crowd for him to get a shot in front of our student section was awesome. And he does a ton for us. I think he gets up more shots in practice though than anybody else we got on the team. But when we want him to pass, whatever we want him to do, he'll do for us.
Fantastic. Well, Coach, thank you very much for joining us here this morning. Big congratulations to you and your guys. It was really awesome to see you guys get a win in that regular season home finale. And like you already said, man, it'll be a tough slate for you guys next Friday when you go on down to Hoban to take on the Knights. But best of luck to you and your guys in your preparation this week. And I'm sure we'll be catching up again sometime sooner down the line.
Hey, let's hope we're talking Saturday.
There we go. Thanks,
right.
Coach. We appreciate it.
I'll see you guys.
As Jim Brabennick, head coach of the Midview Middies, kind enough to share some time with us here this morning. I mean, he's not lying, right? That's a real tough Hoban team, one that I saw last year in the postseason. I talked about it with Coach Chris Delisio at the start of this show here, so it's a pretty darn good basketball team down there. But hey, that's why they play the games, right?
Let me go on a limb. Well, they play the games because we got commercials that we
well,
got.
That too.
That I learned a long time ago. But I'm not doing the show next Saturday, but I'm going to go on a limb. And if Jim Brabennick gets the win Friday, you and Ron will find a way to squeeze him in on Saturday morning.
I would say I'd say he'd get the 9-10 spot.
But
exactly,
and he may have the whole 2 hours. But maybe.
Might.
But you know what? He knows what he's in for. They played him last year. They're down by 8 in the fourth quarter. They know what they're going up against.
Sure.
They play in an incredibly tough conference. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely, we will. So I see Brett Larrick, head coach of the Elyria Pioneers, waiting patiently. If we can get a quick sponsor thank you in to pay some bills, Coach, we'll get right to you after this timeout. More of the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show comes your way after this.
It's the biggest show of the year, the Cleveland Auto Show, running February 20th through March 1st at the IX Center. Nick Abraham Buick GMC is once again proud to be a part of the event, so you can see their latest lineup packed with style, performance, and innovation. Take the drive to their Elyria showroom, where special auto show deals are waiting for you. From the auto show to your driveway, get your next vehicle at Nick Abraham Buick GMC, Route 57 and East Broad Street in Elyria.
Are you undecided about your future and overwhelmed by the options? Well, don't worry, you're not alone. Lorain County Community College has helped thousands of students just like you find their future career. From short-term training programs to transfer options all the way to bachelor degrees, our programs are designed to set you up for future success. Lorain County Community College, your goals, your career, your future. Enroll today.
And welcome back into the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show. Rock Anushi and Rob Polinsky, a temporary hiatus. He went to go refuel and recharge with some caffeine. Somebody who may be doing something similar this morning. Brett Larrick, head coach of the Elyria Pioneers, joins us here this morning. Coach, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show here. And I haven't gotten to chat with you quite as much this season with myself doing some girls coaching over in Independence. I haven't gotten to talk with our hoops coaches quite as often as I would have liked to, but great to chat with you here this morning. And a really nice win for you guys to wind down the regular season last night. 74-68 winners over a tough Avon team. I know they present a lot of size issues and mismatches for a lot of different teams, but you guys end up getting the season sweep over them. So I guess we can start right there, right? How nice is it to close the regular season with a win as you get set to get tournament action underway next week?
Good morning. I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, it's nice to finally get to talk with you with your busy schedule. But yeah, last night, it's nice to close out the season with a win. Avon, I think both times we played them, we're coming off, 6 or 7 straight wins. I think the first time they had 8 straight wins. So no, they're big. They present a tough challenge, and I thought we played really, really well for 3.5 quarters. And at the end, we kind of got a little careless. But 12 at half, 15 in the third quarter, 15 to start the fourth. I thought our guys did a nice job attacking their matchup zone they did and being aggressive on defense and getting out and running. But yeah, we just got careless for a couple minutes, but it's definitely nice to get a win the last game going into the tournament.
Well, not just last night, but winners in 4 out of your last 5, if I look at the Max Prep schedule here correctly. And look, I'm sure you would have liked to have the one over Berea Mid Park back on the 13th. Maybe would have kept you guys in that conference title race. Ultimately, that one ends up being split between Olmsted Falls and Berea Mid Park. So I guess kind of sticking with that, does that maybe create a little extra fuel and hunger for your guys, knowing that maybe you missed out on that goal and objective, but you got a whole new season to start up next week after the tournament draw tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, we've responded pretty well to losses. Obviously, Falls and Berea split it, and they both got us, both swept us. We just didn't play well enough in those games. And, we again, I've said this down the stretch, we have to worry about us. And that's what this next week is going to be, about us, getting us ready, getting our guys prepared, getting a lot of skill stuff in, conditioning, and getting our game plan ready. But we feel good about our guys. We think we can play with anybody in our district, but at the same time, anybody in our district is capable of winning any night. I mean, it's such a tough district. So we've got to be ready to go, and we've got to be consistent for 4 quarters.
Well, sometimes it's that age-old question with high school athletes, right, Coach, with trying to get them to focus in on the same things that you as a head coach and as a staff want them to. And for you, like you said, it's focusing on us, right? How do we play Elyria Pioneer basketball? What's the challenge sometimes with getting that same message across to your athletes, where you got 1,000,001 distractions and 85 different ways you can look at everything else?
That's it. They're high school kids. It's what you deal with, the social media and so many things going on, and getting them to focus. And our practices we've shortened down. And so we want to be short and sweet, get our work in, get out, and make sure our guys are fresh and ready to go. And, they're high school kids, and we just got to find what motivates them and, get them ready, because we're going to have a few days off and we'll do some different things. We'll find out Sunday for sure, but I'm guessing we'll play a week from Tuesday. So we'll have some days to get ready and try and get them fresh. But yeah, that's the key. They're kids. We got to find out how to get them all on the same page and consistent.
Brett, the first time you played at Avon, we had that one on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube page and WEOL.com, and you guys were really impressive in that win at Avon. How was last night's game different or similar to the first time you played Avon?
Well, they did a few different things. They tried to do a little matchup zone stuff last night. I thought our guys reacted really well. We missed our first 4 or 5 threes, I think. And then we started finding some seams and gaps, and then we got hot a little bit. But, you can't come out and, like, last time we played was 19-4 the first quarter. We had a great start to the game. And last night they started off, I think we were down 4-0. And then we kind of came back and took the lead 9-6, and they called a timeout. And then it was like 17-9. I thought we did a really nice job withstanding them from the start. But again, I thought we played really, really well for 3.5 quarters. And then we just got a little loose and careless towards the end. But no, Avon's a tough team. They got size. They got some really good guards. I thought our guys did a nice job. Tink did a nice job on Ziegler again, who we think is a really, really good player. So I thought 3 quarters, that's what we got to keep moving forward. And
isn't that kind of the key to a season? You got to find different ways to win. You're not going to beat teams by 20, 30 points. You're not going to have great starts. But no matter what happened, you got to figure out ways and find ways to fin different ways on different nights, don't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Some of our games, you play teams and you got to ask, well, it was a little slow go in the first half, right? You weren't up 25-30 to start the game. Well, it doesn't work like that. It's the game of basketball. Our league has great coaches. They make adjustments. The players make adjustments. And you have to, like you just said, find different ways to win. It's different guys for us every night. Last night, Kendall got hot. I think he was 7 of 13 from the three-point line. And Seth Wilkerson had 16 off the bench. So it's nice when you got different guys every night, and you got to kind of figure out how to, make the adjustments versus what the other team's doing. Again, I thought our guys did a nice job coming out last night off of the Berea loss and still coming out focused to win our last game.
Well, Coach, familiar territory for you guys tomorrow afternoon as you get set for the tournament draw. And like we've talked about with our other coaches, maybe not quite as complex at that D1 level, but still just, a million different ways that this thing can kind of go and unfold. But ultimately, like you said, a week from Tuesday, you'll think you'll be playing. So it's quite a bit of time away from in-game action. Obviously, you'll have your practices and your film sessions and whatnot in the meantime, but having such a prolonged time away from that in-game action, I'm sure we've asked you this before over the years, but how do you kind of go about that and sort of approach that with the guys, and knowing that ultimately you got to kind of get relocked back in for that eventual playoff game?
Yeah, we had our coaches meeting this morning, kind of looking at the brackets, and there's 2 sectional games that would be Friday, and I mean, I never know, we could play one of those. I don't anticipate it, so it would be Tuesday. So we kind of went through different scenarios and mock draws where we could go, and we kind of have an idea, we think, but we'll find out Sunday. But we anticipate having some days off, and we've got some ideas in mind, some different things that we'll do, but we've got to change it up. We can't do the same thing every day for 5-6 straight days. We'll have some time off, we'll give them a break, but we'll have some skill sessions in there, and then we got to find some fun things to do as well to keep them going, because it's tough. That long off, you're used to playing Tuesday, Friday, and then to get this break's not ideal. The state moved the tournaments back late because we usually would have this last game. We had moved our Avon game back so we could go into the tournament. So I don't usually like this long break, but we'll see. We'll make some adjustments, and we'll find some fun things for the guys to do.
Brett, do you know where you're going to be seated? And, is there a possibility of a home game for you guys?
Yes and yes. Yeah, the seedings were final this morning. We're the 6th seed. You got Brunswick is 1, Eds, Ignatius, then McKinley. Those are the top 4. They've been the top 4 pretty much all year, and those are basically 4 number 1 seeds. Those are 4 really good ones. And then Perrysburg got 5, and then us. So we're pretty sure we're going to be able to get a home game again, depending what those guys do. But there's 8 home games, so we're pretty confident that we'll have a home game in the tournament, which is what our goal was.
Fantastic. Well, Coach, we're certainly looking forward to seeing how that tournament draw ends up going for you guys. We certainly plan on covering you guys throughout this postseason once we know where you'll be and where you'll be playing and all that good stuff. So we're very much looking forward to that. But congratulations on a great regular season, if I could talk. Congratulations on the win for your guys last night, and I'm sure we'll be catching up again with you here soon.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on this morning. Have a great weekend.
You as well, Coach. It's Brett Larrick, head coach of the Elyria Pioneers, kind enough to share some time with us here this morning. And boy, man, he rattles off those teams, and you start to think, oh man, what a tough road ahead. I mean, the Brunswick, McKinley, Eds, Ignatius. I mean, whew.
I've heard of some of those.
Well, yeah, Lions, Tigers, Bears. Oh my, yeah, they're all in there, aren't they?
I mean, he just didn't say the Cavs and the Pistons. Other than that, he pretty much had it.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to seeing how the Division 1 and 2 draws turn out tomorrow. Well, somebody who already very much knows when they'll be playing, it'll be tonight, as a matter of fact, at home against Canton South, our final head coach of the morning. Last but certainly not least, it's Coach Rocky Houston from the Keystone Lady Wildcats. His girls getting prepared for a tournament game tonight at home as they get set to take on Canton South. Coach, first and foremost, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. How are we doing today?
Doing fantastic. Thank you, Rocco. Thank you, Rob, for having me. Appreciate it very much.
Well, I see you matched us headset for headset here this morning, so stepping into our world a little bit here. I like that. Great look on you over there, Coach.
Try to cover up as much as this face as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we do the same, right? Former radio guys now kind of forced to be on camera a little bit.
I can do better. I could, get this
throw the hood up. Yeah.
There you go. Cover more here, and I got you beat, Rock.
Oh boy!
All of a sudden, Rob, you look good.
Yeah, funny how that turns out. So how's today go for you guys? Coach? You don't play until 7. Do you get the girls in the gym for a shoot around, a film session earlier today, this morning, later on this afternoon? How do you guys kind of go about preparation for tonight?
Yeah, I'm at the school now. We'll get a shoot around in here around 11 o'clock, and then the girls are going to have a little team lunch, and then after that, we'll meet back up at the school and then get ourselves ready and focused on the task at hand.
There you go. So let's talk about this season for you guys, if we could. I mean, I'm sure we've had you on plenty, as I've mentioned to some of our other coaches, and with me coaching over at Independence, I just haven't gotten to be on the show quite as much this season. But I know you look at the schedule. Obviously, another very very successful season for you guys. 19-3 overall, 12-2 within the conference. You had some good non-conference wins in there as well. You finished the regular season winning 3 out of your final 4. The only loss in there was to Padua, who, as we know, is just an absolute powerhouse this season with their girls basketball program. So what were kind of your thoughts on how this regular season went for you and the girls, and where's kind of the confidence level at as you get ready for postseason action starting tonight?
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting start to the season. We had a couple close games right off the rip, and then our only senior tears her ACL in the first minutes of our 5th game. And she was a big part of what we planned on doing defensively all year long. And that was Mia Steffen. So we had to make some adjustments, but the girls, as young as we are, we've got the 4 freshmen, 2 sophomores who really didn't play varsity last year. And then we had 2 sophomores that came off the bench last year. And then we had Maddie really with the experience, and we have a junior that also played last year a little bit in the varsity. So, these girls kind of, I think, surprised myself and a lot of teams that they played, just being that young and that lack of varsity experience and floor experience, having those tight games in the beginning of the year. And, they found ways to win game after game after game. And all of a sudden they built that confidence. And I think that, for some of them, I think the second half of the season was something that they hadn't experienced because, they were playing in that 8th grade season last year where they were done after about 6 weeks, and they didn't have, that was the end of the season when January hit instead of us. That was the second half of the season. So I think figuring out that second half and getting mentally where you needed to be, physically where you needed to be to get through everything. I think the girls, we've turned that corner. I think we're right where we want to be and where we need to be to get ready for the tournament.
Rocky, tell us about Canton South.
Yeah, they are a physical team. They'll pressure. They run a little bit of a diamond press and try to get you to turn the basketball over. They got a big post player, Claire Howard. She's about 6'3", big body. She's tough. So you got to stay between her and the rim, try to get the ball out of her hands, and then make sure you box her out. If not, she does a really good job around there as far as cleaning up the glass. If you don't keep her from getting in that paint. So. We got our hands full. It's a challenge inside of there. I know they were a 20 seed, but they're if you look at some of the teams that they've beat and had close games with, they were right with several teams that were seeded in that 11, 10, 13 spot. So they are it's no, you walk in and you're going to win the game. You got to come and play and compete at a high level and do things the right way. But I think our girls, we've worked really hard this week to do what we need to do to be successul. Now it's just, taking that inexperience and stepping on the floor and understanding how important it is. And, this is it, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, that's the end of the season. So, Maddie's been through that. Maddie understands all that. Everybody else, there's a couple of them that kind of know a little bit about it, but Maddie's been through it. And I think Maddie is going to, help the girls understand what they got to do and how they got to play tonight, and the perspective that they got to take going into this game.
Rocky, obviously you've had great tournament success. A couple years ago, Rocco Nucci got to see you go all the way down to the state semis. And is there a key in your mind of tournament success? Obviously, you got to have a great team. I understand that, but is there a difference between the postseason and the regular season? How do you convey that to your girls? And is there a key or two to have success in the postseason? Maybe that's different than the regular season, or maybe it's not.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about the postseason is handling the physicality. A lot of times, during the season, you get a lot of calls and you end up going to the free throw line a lot more. Where in the postseason, the game, a lot of times there's some of that bumping, that shoving, that contact that's made. You don't get those calls. So it's being strong with the basketball. It's handling that pressure. It's making good decisions with the ball and finishing around the hoop when you're getting bodied like that. And then it's figuring out on your team, how to be physical like that. During the season, it's hard to do that because you get in foul trouble. So now you just got to figure out how to, to actually do that and not get in foul trouble. and the girls will figure it out and learn it. When you have a veteran team, they know it, they've been through it. So a lot of these girls haven't, but Maddie has, and like I said, she'll help guide everybody to help them understand what they got to do and how they got to play today, and dealing with that physicality. And to me, that's the toughest part of the game.
Well, Coach, not to walk too far down memory lane, because I know the focus obviously for you guys is tonight with Canton South, but Rob bringing up that tournament run to the state Final Four, and it just makes me think when you said physicality, I think about both of your regional matchups, that first one against Wardensville Heights, and then the second one, I believe it was Chippewa, where you guys really got the best of them in that one. But I just think back to those games at Stowe, and man, that was physicality personified, wasn't it? I mean, Jared and I felt sore after just calling that game, so I can't imagine how your girls must have felt. I think that's just absolutely spot on. You look at the physicality that really ramps up, and people talk about that with like college basketball and the NBA playoffs, especially. Oh, it's physical, you don't get the calls, but there's a lot of truth to that, even on down to the high school level. It's not a totally different game, but certainly a different brand of basketball to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I think some of that comes into that, when it gets to the tournament, the officials don't want to have teams' best players be sitting on the bench in those big games where, during the season, you got 22 games. So, somebody gets in that situation, well, they still got more. This isn't that way in the tournament, So I think part of that's why the game is allowed to go a little bit more physical. But you hit the nail on the head as far as, those games were really physical. The games before that were too as well, playing Crestview and playing Rootstown, they were extremely physical as well. And we had a different type of team back then where we played a lot more just half court man defense, and you get one shot and that's it. And if you don't make it, then we're getting the rebound and going the other way. Our game and our speed and the way we play now is different on the defensive side. We speed the game up, we pressure a lot more, we get up and down the floor a lot more. And so it's figuring out how to be physical in that aspect. It's a little bit easier to be physical in the half court aspect than it is when you're going up and down the floor. You get caught bodying up and putting your hand on somebody and you get a whistle blowing on you. We're in the half court. It's a little bit easier to square up, stay tight on your defend on whoever you're guarding and be with them. And there's a lot of times a lot less calls when you're playing defense like that versus the way that we've been playing these last couple of years.
No pressure, Rock. But if you're looking for a little motivational speech today at the shoot around or whatever, just so if you win today, Ron Janssen, WEOL.com will be there Tuesday. So we don't mean to put extra pressure on your team, but you got to win for us to come on Tuesday and have Ron Janssen, the gang, have your game on the Chronicle Telegram YouTube page and WEOL.com.
I will make sure I let the girls know that we've got a pretty good record on when we're on the radio. So we're going to do everything we can today to get ourselves on that radio on Tuesday. So for sure, and I think the girls are excited, and having Jada Gaines and Sophia Clerico, who played a little bit last year in this, and then Kendall Corbeils, and then our freshman in our starting lineup, Caitlin Lamb. This will probably be the first time for her experiencing this type of atmosphere. But the other girls, regardless of how many minutes they actually played in the atmosphere, they've actually at least been there and experienced it. Now the rest of our bench would be a different story. Every time they come on the floor, this will be a brand new, experience for them, and hopefully they soak it in, they enjoy it, and they get through the nerves and all the other stuff, the anxiety, and they just play basketball, hopefully fairly quick.
Well, not to even throw this out there, not to put the bad juju or the bad vibes out there, but God forbid it doesn't, go the way of the Wildcats here today. Rob is the one that is banned from LaGrange and banned from the Depot for all post-game sessions. It's not me. It's not me. Make sure you come for Polinsky. All right.
That's motivation.
I don't know. I'm just saying. So there you go. Well, Coach, we'll let you get to shoot around, but thank you very much again for the time this morning. Really appreciate you kind of previewing your tournament game here tonight. Best of luck to you and your guys, or to you and your girls, I should say, and what should be a fun contest on later tonight. Curious to see how that final score ends up. But thanks again for the time. Best of luck to you and the girls.
Yeah, appreciate it, Rocco. Appreciate it, Rob. Appreciate everything WEOL does for Keystone Basketball and Lorain County. So, we're going to do our best to be talking to you guys on Tuesday night.
Thanks,
Rock.
Rock.
Sounds good, Coach. You take care. Have a good one. That's Rocky Houston, head coach of the Keystone Wildcats, as Boy, the broadcaster jinx it. It's out and about at 11:02
No such
this
thing.
morning. My goodness,
such
no,
thing.
not a believer in that.
No.
Not even when they get to the
Not at all.
so and so's made 36 straight free throws.
We got,
getting into-
we got nothing to do with it.
There you go. There you go. Well, that's good on you. Good on you. So, big thanks to everybody who joined us here this morning. Fun show. Always love getting to
Wow.
talk some tournament basketball. We talked some football as well. Bobby Stout, new head coach for the Brookside Football Cardinals, joined us earlier in that 9 o'clock hour. So, once again, a big thanks to everybody who joined us. And again, want to thank our sponsors that made today's show and all of our shows this season possible thus far. Nick Abraham Buick GMC and Nick Abraham Elyria Ford. Check out their auto show deals over at the corner of Route 57 and East Broad Street right here in Elyria. Lorain County Community College, LCCC, Real Education for Good Jobs. The Lorain Medina Rural Electric Cooperative, LMRE. They are your Touchstone Energy partner. And by our friends over at Eco Tree Services, your complete tree care company. Another quick reminder before we say goodbye. In a couple of hours, make sure you tune right back into WEOL.com and that Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel. Myself, Jared Kozar, Gary Pelter head west to Vermilion as the Sailors welcome in the Lake Flyers of Millbury for some girls tournament action. About a 1:30 pregame, 2 o'clock tip again right here on WEOL and on that Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel. But for all of our head coaches who joined us this morning, for Rob Polinsky, my fantastic co-host, I am Rocco Nucci, saying thank you for watching another episode of the Nick Abraham Saturday Sports Wrap-Up Show here on WEOL.com and on that Chronicle Telegram YouTube channel. We'll see you guys in a couple of short hours over at Vermilion.